Back at it here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast with you as always, Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Eric Eager from Sumer Sports. I'm Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Much to get to. We'll talk about the championship of the Kansas City Chiefs, how it became a tragedy at the end of the parade. We'll discuss that. We will talk about the extensions given to Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Toub. Where's the extension for Matt Nagy? There's actually a really good reason why his wasn't mentioned. And we'll go over our predictions. How well did we predict this season? We talk about it right now here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.
You're listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Eric Eager, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Eric Eager is the vice president of research and development for Sumer Sports. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Eric Eager, and Soren Petro.
And thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Proudly brought to you by our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Gann Asphalt and Concrete online at GannAsphalt.com. Gentlemen, unfortunately, we begin with what, ended up being a tragedy. One dead, 23 overall injured at the end of the Kansas City Chiefs celebration. What should have been coming together was initially a coming together of the community to celebrate a championship, another championship, the third in 5 years, back to back, and we end up having a shooting. We have more details now. We know that this was a dispute between two parties, and Chiefs fans caught in the crossfire and one dead. Just a horrible way to end what should have been a great day, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of real life invaded, the games that we go to escape from, right? I mean, this has been a great run for this city, for this franchise, an opportunity to really be in the front and center of the NFL for the last 5 or 6 years, and to have this happen. Yeah, it's a tragedy in a lot of different ways. Obviously, a lost life, number of traumatized people. And I've heard people say, like, why did this have to happen when everybody's watching Kansas City and all eyes are on us? And it's like, it's just the way the world is today. You can't really escape it. It happens in all different communities. It's happened around the NFL and other cities. I was grateful for how people responded to it. I was grateful for there wasn't more loss of life. I think things like this bring communities together in a weird way. So hopefully that end of the day, again, I feel horrible for the family that lost a loved one, but I also feel like, this is the world we're living in today. And unfortunately, we had to live with it this past week.
Eric, Jeff and I, of course, are here in Kansas City. Nationally, it became a national story, right? I mean, I know you're in tune to Kansas City more as a Chiefs fan and working with Jeff and I and having friends here in this town, but, it quickly became a national story. And even in Atlanta, it's front and center.
Yeah, it was. Well, I was watching the parade at work. Like, I was watching it on NFL Network, and I haven't been to one yet, but I certainly. It's so, like, Jeff nailed it. It's like sports have a way. This entire season, even you had even people trying to, like, politicize Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, the Chiefs, right? And you galvanize an entire city with a championship. Everybody's coming together of all different creeds, stripes, whatever, all this stuff, and to have this happen, is really sad. To Jeff's point, like, when you take a step back, you're like, yeah, this is kind of, it happens at 4th of July parades now. It happens at, it happens in schools now. It's just kind of what, the risks now, I guess, in living in America. I think I agree with Jeff as well that I'm heartened by the responses of Chiefs players, of Chiefs staff. Trey Smith comforting somebody with the championship belt. Patrick Mahomes and his wife going in and meeting people in the hospital. Obviously, Taylor Swift, who's a part of Chiefs Kingdom now, giving away $100,000 to the family that lost a loved one. All those things are positive. I of course wish that we could exude this humanity and positivity in situations that needed it less than situations like the other day. But yeah, it's heartening to know that the Chiefs family and the fan base can rise above something like this.
Yeah, just a horrible way to end what was a great day, and something that we'll always remember. You'll remember, one, it started out as a day that, hey, I remember this championship parade amongst all others because it was 62 degrees. It was absolutely a spectacular February day in Kansas City that ended up being tragically wrong, and now we'll remember, yes, it was warm, but also the horrible end to the parade will be a footnote to this, more than a footnote, will be a part of this championship season forever. And of course, I don't think it'll ever go away. I think it's a memory that everybody will have. And unfortunately, it'll be there forever. The world does keep going. The NFL world does keep going. The Chiefs keep operating. We'll turn our attention and focus on the football side of things. It's what we do with this podcast. I've said it on my radio show. We're kind of the distraction from life's frustrations and troubles. Come and have fun. Talk about your Kansas City Chiefs, and that's what we'll do. It's what we're I don't know, I think kind of good at least. Let's talk a little bit about the news that did happen this week before we get to reviewing our predictions for the season, guys. And let's talk about the extensions. First, it comes out really before the parade that Steve Spagnuolo has been extended, and then later we get Dave Toub's extension. No announcement on Matt Nagy. Pretty simple answer for that, Jeff, though. He just got promoted to coordinator, or more the coordinators, position coaches. You tell me, because I mentioned this on the air. I haven't looked into the coaching staff's contracts since Andy Reid got hired, right? Like, unless you're changing head coaches, you don't really worry about. You cover all the teams. Standard operating procedure back in the day was every assistant coach was on 1-year deals, and they were renewed every year. It's become now that coordinators will get 2 or 3-year deals. I think that's why this is of note. And Matt Nagy's probably in the middle of what was a 2-year deal that he was given last year, if anyone's wondering, because I had some people question, like, oh, they're not happy? Does this mean Eric Bieniemy's coming back to be OC because they're not naming him? Probably not, but am I looking at this wrong?
No, it's exactly right. I mean, he's just hadn't been around as long as the other two guys have been around, and you don't know the timetable for their contracts. But I'm sure that Matt Nagy's not going anywhere given his relationship with Andy Reid and Brett Veach, and look, the job he's done. He's been here for a couple championships now, so I don't think that should be a sign that him not getting extension is an indication that they're unhappy with him. But I think it's, I was thinking about this when these deals came out, and you start looking around the NFL and look at how many coaching staffs, how many teams have been championship caliber, championship contention, have lost key assistants and have paid a price for that. I mean, Steve Wilkes just got fired in San Francisco for replacing D'Amico Ryans. Todd Monken was, the force du jour for Baltimore all year long, and then had a horrible game plan in this game. And then Mike McDonald, their defensive coordinator, who was, had the best defense in the league, is now gone. Joe Brady takes over for Ken Dorsey, who took over for Brian Dable. So it's just, I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you have to be excited that you've kept this group together for as long as you've had. I'm amazed that Steve Spagnuolo has not got any kind of buzz as a head coaching candidate, given the job he's done for the last 3 championships since he showed up here. But yeah, I think it's a great thing for the Chiefs to be able to retain all these guys.
Continuity. It's not a bad thing, right, Eric? I mean, they keep all the generals in place under Andy Reid. I mean, it's almost like the league is helping them continue to be successful.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we finally saw it with Baltimore, right? Over the years, it's not even just the coaching staff, but like, for example, the director of player personnel, Corey Krawick, went over with Joe Hortitz to go, who's now the general manager with the Chargers. But like they had a bunch of front office talent too that all left, and it all happened at once. The Chiefs, Ryan Poles left for Chicago. Brant Tillis now finally gets his job with Carolina. Mike Borgonzi has gotten interviews as the assistant GM, but he hasn't really gotten an opportunity. They had Nagy, they had Bieniemy kind of waiting in the wings, Kafka, but for the most part, they've been able to build a culture where a guy like Dave Merritt is like, I want to be here until my kids graduate from high school, and I'm going to continue to be the DBs coach. And the DBs have been phenomenal for this team for like 2 or 3 years now. Have really turned this around. I give a lot of crap to Dave Toub. I will say this. They were really good this year. Andy Reid was 3rd in the NFL in win probability added on, all the stuff where you can make decisions. So 4th downs, 2-pointers. But I put in the model this year, kickoffs and kickoff returns, meaning do you fair catch the kicks? Do you kneel the kicks down? Do you kick the ball through the end zone? Do you avoid injuries, right? One of the things about this team is they don't get injured very much. And a lot of that is that Dave Toub has over the time evolved into a guy that only does the special teams you need to do because their quarterback is great. I think obviously Spagnuolo, to Jeff's point, I don't know how Washington doesn't just wait another week once they got left at the altar by Ben Johnson. But he certainly has deserved it. And I think Dave Toub, as much as I've given him flack, has really improved. So I think those two have been, incredibly deserving. And I think Matt Nagy, look, this team won the Super Bowl, but it's not perfect. I don't think the offense didn't get better this year. So I don't think Matt Nagy deserved a contract extension, to be quite frank, and probably deserves to have to prove himself next year. So I think everything the Chiefs did from a coaching staff standpoint makes a ton of sense.
Any idea, Jeff, how much? What's the going rate for a championship defensive coordinator like Steve Spagnuolo? Are we in the 2.5? My guess is $2.5 to $4 million.
Yeah.
Andy Reid's taking care of his guys.
Yeah, no, he's getting taken care of. Yeah, but again, it's just you look at how many defensive coaches were hired this past cycle, and I get that young is always going to be sexy. So, Raheem Morris, Mike McDonald, people like that are always going to have more appeal to owners. But Steve Spagnuolo had a chance to be a head coach once in St. Louis. Had some tough breaks with the quarterback not being able to stay healthy and didn't work out for him. But I think that, my God, I mean, it's just like that's such a small sample size for a guy who's, won 4 championships doing amazing things defensively. I think there's a lot of reason to want to bring him in. And he's been with a team that's now won 3 championships and a coach who's going to go down as one of the best ever. I would imagine that would give you a little bit of cachet when people are looking to hire people. But yeah, he's getting paid. Yeah, good money. But I just think it's amazing that he's not getting more love outside of this franchise.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. He's won with lesser talent on defense, less than he has this year. And I think what really solidifies him is we've now seen him when he first got in, he took over a group that had been god-awful. So he didn't have the most talented group when he came in and took over the defense and won a championship. What the offense was what they were leaning on, but he won a championship. He got stops when they needed it. He could dial it up and get it there. And now, as it's evolved, and they've had to trade away Tyreek Hill, and the offensive firepower is not as strong, and they did put resources into the defense. The real question was, if they'd given him all these draft picks and it hadn't worked, you'd be like, okay, he's a guy that can, carry the bags for a great offense. No, they needed the defense to be great, Jeff. And as you said, defense is why you said they won the game, and he did it. They gave him talent, and he made the defense great. I think he's done everything you could ask of a defensive coordinator. Loyal soldier when he doesn't have the best weapons, and kicking ass when he does. Like, what more could you ask for out of a guy?
Yeah.
So,
well, I know Eric and I both, when they started putting this defense together, kind of saw the potential in it. But again, you need to have a coach who can execute that, right? I mean, the book on Spagnuolo before he got here was that if he doesn't have a great pass rush or great pass rushers, he's not a great coordinator. And so he's pretty much, he's had Chris Jones, but he's pretty much been able to do a lot of what he's done here by really mixing up coverages. He's always been a great blitz guy, but really the back end of his defense has gotten a lot stronger and really made the front end a lot more effective.
Well, we said this on the last show, right? Like the biggest thing is 2 years ago when we first started the show, the frustration weekly when they were giving up 40 points and 30 points and 20 points, and Ricky Seals-Jones is running in for touchdowns from Taylor Heineke against them. Like, that they wouldn't even play Juan Thornhill over Daniel Sorensen because Juan Thornhill was considered inexperienced as a year 3 player. They wouldn't play Nick Bolton over Anthony Hitchens. And now he's incredibly comfortable playing Shamari Connor in big spots as a rookie defensive back. Like that to me, like people want to look back at his St. Louis record and what is it like 20? I don't quote me on it. It's like 11-41 or 21-51 or it's insanely bad.
Yeah.
And Ben Lieber, who does a radio show back in my hometown in Minnesota, he was like, Ben Lieber he was like, Steve Spagnuolo is the worst head coach I've ever played for, which is he played for Brad Childress, so that's really bad. And so like I think he has a hard time shaking that. But when I look at a guy of his age, can he change? And he's changed before our eyes. Like he's changed into a guy that can develop young players. And so I would be bullish on him as a head coach because he's seen it modeled with Andy Reid. He's changed fundamentally who he was. And St. Louis, pre Jeff Fisher, which is also weird to say, had one of the worst stretches of any NFL franchise. Like he wasn't necessarily getting in front of the best bus in the world back then. So I think it's all contributing factors as to why he doesn't get a second shot.
If anyone looks at a coach who doesn't have a top shelf quarterback, at least a very good quarterback, and wants to come up with some final grade, you're an idiot. Like you're just not going to succeed without a quarterback in the NFL. By the way, 10-38 overall with his time in St. Louis, 1-15, 7-9, 2-14, 1-3 as an interim for the Giants for an overall record of 11-41.
Right off the top of the head right there.
You nailed it. We're proudly brought to you here at the Red Gold and Bold podcast by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems, they've been making them disappear since 1994. Don't risk accidents and liability in your parking lot. Get your lot restriped today. Brightly striped lot cuts down on accidents and keeps your parking lot as safe as possible. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. That's GannAsphalt.com. Gentlemen, let's get to our predictions. How do we do? What do we learn from our predictions? We'll in our 2D podcast, our sister podcast, we'll talk about our overall NFL predictions. We all had the Chiefs winning the AFC West, so we get that right. Records. Let's start with our records. Eric and I did not nail it. We weren't far off. We each had the Chiefs at 12-5, and then Jeff Chadiha, who everybody loves to give grief to and who got a lot of crap when we did these predictions on the podcast, who predicted the Chiefs 11-6, and everybody, Jeff, he hates on the Chiefs, all this whiny crap. You nailed it, Jeff. You nailed it at 11-6. Let's start with you since you got it right. Did it look the way you thought it would look en route to being right on the record?
If I look back on it, I thought that they would lose to the Eagles. I thought they would lose to the Bills. I thought they would lose. The ones I got wrong with the Jets and the Bengals. The Raiders obviously was not called. The Packers wasn't called. But, I thought, look, people think 11-6 is bad. It's a pretty good record in the NFL. 11-6 won a lot of teams' division titles this year. So to me, it was they were taking a step back. I just felt like the more you win championships, the more teams are coming after you. And ultimately, they were going to win the division, but I didn't think that they were going to dominate the NFL. I don't think, it's going back to the 2020 team that was trying to repeat there. I mean, that's a whole different level of talent. I think some of the young players coming in, there were some questions, and we didn't know what they were going to get on defense. So I think that's what my thinking was on that.
Yeah. By the way, I want to reiterate, Jeff, in addition to Eric and I, picked the Chiefs to win the AFC West. Podcast last week or maybe a couple of weeks ago, somebody was trying to throw at Jeff that he picked the Chargers. He picked the Chiefs. Write this down. We haven't. He did not pick the Chargers. Maybe in years past he has. I'd have to go back and look. But he did not pick the Chargers. He picked the Chiefs to win the division, and he nailed the record. Eric, 12-5. You were close. What do you take away? What do we miss? What do you take away from being off by one game?
I don't think any of us predicted Travis Kelce would get hurt in the week leading up to week 1, and it would negatively affect him the whole year, right? Like the whole cascading part of Kelce being hurt and not quite himself until the playoffs. I think it was that extra win and I think Jeff's right. I mean, the funny part about Jeff is he highlighted the fact that The Chiefs should have been 12-5, given the AFC was weaker. The Chargers quarterback gets hurt. The Bengals quarterback gets hurt. The slate was easier. The Chiefs were worse than we all thought they would be.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to some degree, I'm kind of impressed that they got to 11-6 because they weren't in the regular season as good as I thought they'd be. Obviously, I had them 12-5, but even the way they got to 11-6, they never got dominant. If you remember, I was looking back and looking through some of the notes that I make for the podcast, and like for the first 9 weeks, I kept predicting, okay, what's our predictions? Chiefs 31-13. Chiefs 34-16. I'm looking back at this like,
remember.
I was like, okay, unleash the fury. Where is it? It's got to come. It never came that the offense really clicked. There was like 1 or 2 games where it got going. So, not only were you right, Jeff, I think you were way righter than you realized. I think Eric's right. I will say this. I did predict, and Travis Kelce actually, I thought Kelce would get hurt. I mean, he's getting old. I'll predict it next year that he'll get hurt. I told guys in a fantasy league who were taking Travis Kelce with the 5th or 6th pick, I'm like, you're making a mistake. Like, it has to end sometime. Yeah. He's going to get hurt. It just happens with age. And so to go through that and still get to 11-6, I give a lot of credit to the coaching staff. I mean, they exceeded my expectations and did it in a totally different way. I thought the defense would be good. We'll get to some of our bold and daring predictions here in a minute, but I didn't realize it would be this truly elite. And so I give them a lot of credit for that. Our offensive player of the year, we all had Patrick Mahomes. All right. So that was an easy one. I don't think anybody feels it should go to anybody else, right? Patrick Mahomes was the guy. Defensive player of the year. We had 2 Nick Boltons. Jeff, you and Eric picked Nick Bolton. I had Trent McDuffie for the defensive player of the year. Bolton may very well have been on his way until he got hurt. Like, I don't think that's looking back. And how did you have Tracy Simeon of the modern day, Eric, as your defensive player of the year? When I opened this up and looked and saw Nick Bolton, I'm like, what the hell was this? I totally forgot that you picked Nick Bolton when you usually run him down.
So, but did we decide on who is the defensive player of the year for this team?
I mean, I think it's Trent McDuffie. He was the only first team All-Pro on the defense.
Was it first team? He was second team?
Yeah, he was second team.
Yeah.
But I would listen to Chris Jones as the answer. I mean, I think all of our predictions are pretty solid. I don't think anybody's swung and missed. Right? Maybe you hit a single or a double with Nick Bolton, but I think they're pretty solid.
Yeah, I think I'd have to look at how they did when Bolton was out. I thought Bolton was a better player last year than he was this year, to be honest with you. And I thought that Drew Tranquill was good in his anyway, I thought Bolton, well, it's a good question to bring up. Like, Willie Gay and Drew Tranquill are free agents this year. I think we all believe that the Chiefs are going to extend Nick Bolton among those linebackers. Is that a mistake?
No.
You think Nick, if they're going to choose one linebacker to go second contract with among the guys they brought in, so Chanel, Bolton, Gay, and now Tranquill, which is a little bit weird. If they have one second contract among the 4 players, and we've all assumed it's Bolton for the longest time, has 2023 changed that opinion? For me, I think it has. I think I'd extend Willie Gay instead.
Oh,
I can't do that. I can't help it just because of all the off the field stuff that comes with Willie Gay. I think there is first of all, there's a reason they run Nick Bolton up to the podium all the time. They like that he really, answers questions without giving anything away. He never puts the organization in a bad spot. I don't know how much they put on him with the green dot. I think that's important. And Willie Gay's never going to wear the green dot. He's never going to be the guy getting the signals. And so I would be surprised about that. Nick Bolton is also he's 23 right now, three years into his career. So they love young guys. And so I think that speaks to it. I hear where you're coming from, but I'm fine with Nick Bolton because I think he's steady. And I don't think he got worse. In fact, in the Super Bowl, the linebacking snaps on how they played, and again, he does wear the green dot, so you expect him to be out there, but Nick Bolton missed 1 snap in the Super Bowl. Only came out for 1 snap. Willie Gay played 52% of the snaps. Drew Tranquill played 39%. I mean,
I know they certainly prefer Bolton is their linebacker. That I'm just wondering. I know what is. I'm asking what should be.
Okay.
Well, and I would say that you look at the run defense, you look at the toughness of this defense. I think so much of that stems from him, his ability. I think you can find other guys that do what Willie Gay do and what Drew Tranquil do. I mean, they're athletic players, but to have a physical, smart middle linebacker in your defense. I mean, I look at the Ravens with Roquan Smith. I look at the Niners with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and I think it's an underrated talent that you have there. And so for me, even though he's not great in pass coverage, I think you look at some of the teams they've had to go through this year, Ravens, Bills, Niners, teams that have backs who can run the football effectively. I mean, I don't know if they win those games if Nick Bolton's not playing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think he's the right guy in the middle, and I think he's gotten better with his pass defense. What's interesting, by the way, PFF's grades on the Chiefs linebackers, the four that really play. Nick Bolton, 63 of 82. Willie Gay is 72 of 82. Drew Tranquil is 39 of 82 linebackers. Leo Chenal, 5th of 82. But if you watch PFF, the guys who only play a little bit, they get put into the positions that they actually succeed in.
Right.
So the less they play, they seem to rock.
The linebacker grades at PFF are like it's like the good slot corners don't get graded well. Like L'Jarius Sneed doesn't get the grade he deserves at PFF because he gets the hardest assignments.
Right. I agree. All right, our surprise of the year. Jeff, you went with Noah Gray. Eric, you had MarquezValdes-Scantling. This is supposed to be a positive, by the way.
yeah.
Because we've got our disappointment coming next. Eric had MVS. I had Rashee Rice.
Take
Eric,
a bow. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, look, has MarquezValdes-Scantling lost a playoff game in a Chiefs uniform? No. Case closed.
Yeah.
So.
And anything you take away from that? Like, to me, I'm with you. I thought we'd see a bump with Juju going away second year, and he came up big in the playoffs. I mean, he is the Frank Clark of the offense.
The problem with MVS is he's the same player every single game. There's just simply no. There's just no on. Like it's just the same all the time. Like Like in the season, they really needed him. Like that was the whole point. Evidently, right? My whole thesis was where are the targets going to go? And the answer the whole season is to no one. And I thought it was going to be to MVS, and MVS just like simply didn't rise above. So no, and even in the playoffs, he didn't rise above. He was wide open for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He had one catch against the Ravens that was obviously big, and the 2 catches against Buffalo. But it's not like he was catching for 100 yards. He made a couple plays in the playoffs, but there just wasn't. I mean, Rashee Rice was the player that stepped up and took all the targets, and that was the way it was going to go. MVS simply can't do that. It's probably why he's not going to be on the team next year.
Yeah, I give you credit for seeing the potential in Rashee Rice, because for me it felt like the depth chart was so well, it sounds like a strange word to say, so strong when the season started that a rookie breaking in an Andy Reid offense didn't make sense. I like Noah Gray because when we did this, Travis Kelce, I think, had gotten banged up, right? Was it the week he got banged up?
I think so.
Yeah. Date. Do I have a date on this?
Or maybe I let Eric just kind of.
September. We did it September 5th. I created the spreadsheet September 5th.
Okay.
And the Oprah was September 7th, I think. So it
might. So he was hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think Eric, some of that Jedi mind trick Eric may have played on me with getting Noah Gray to turning him into the second coming of a.
Does he have the exact same statistics as last year, basically?
Yeah.
He's a steady player. I don't think there's anything wrong with Noah Gray. I think he's been fine. I think the Chiefs need to invest in another tight end to take a little bit. I think we saw Travis Kelce could use some load management during the season. Maybe even sitting him for a game. Hey, take this week off. If you can get going. They were always kind of, very quickly, somewhat were fighting for their lives. They could never get clear and hold that 1 seed. So there was a reason to put him out there every time. But Noah Gray was solid. I don't see anything wrong with him. And I don't think the MVS pick was bad. It just, to me, speaks to part of the story of the season. They had to overcome a guy that was giving them nothing, that they're paying well, that they really thought should be. Well, they had to develop Rashee Rice because no one else was going to get the job done. Disappointments. Chris Jones for Jeff. He was during a holdout, by the way. Trent McDuffie for Eric. You got some splaining to do. And I went with Felix Anudike Uzama. I'll take a bow on that one as well. The FAU didn't really play. I just didn't see where he was going to get into the mix. And the hand injury setting him back, there were kind of some warning signs. They were kind of making excuses for him already in training camp. I'm like, this doesn't sound good, which ended up being fine. Michael Dana played really well, especially in the first half. But Trent McDuffie, how much did he blow your mind, Eric?
I mean, Trent McDuffie was amazing. The funny part is we're so like kind of woke in the NFL now that he can be like first team all pro without an interception. He's like still never had one. But we all can see that he's amazing. I mean, the plays he made in the Super Bowl were phenomenal. My whole thing was he played really well as a rookie, and generally speaking, defensive backs have second, like L'Jarius Sneed was awesome in 2020. He kind of regressed a little bit in 21. I saw a similar decline, and it didn't happen. And I think that, McDuffie is a premier player on this team. So I was wrong. I was wrong about both.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah. I think these are fun. You put it down, you write it down, and you realize how the season is different, right? If you don't, it's like, oh yeah, I thought this was good. No, I mean, the season was really different than a lot of the things that we kind of expected were going to happen this year. We're proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warranty. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer, helps you and your business focus on what it is you do. No unnecessary delays, no costly expenses, no liability problems. Make a great first impression and last impression with your business. Let Gann Asphalt and Concrete give you a perfectly striped and smooth parking lot. One contractor, all things parking lot. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, online at GannAsphalt.com. Bold and daring predictions coming into the season. We'll take each person at a time. You want to do it that way, or you want to go one from each of us at a time? Or hold one person accountable all at once. We'll start with Jeff. Your bold and daring predictions. The Chiefs won't make this year's AFC Championship game. They almost didn't, by the way. Yeah. Sky Moore will have 1,000 yards receiving, and Nick Bolton will make the Pro Bowl. What do you think? What do you have to say for yourself?
I got Nick Bolton right?
Yeah.
he was my defensive player of the year. But I brought him the Sky Moore hype. Maybe just hearing him talk in the offseason. He's a likable guy. I mean, he's a good kid. He works hard. And I just thought, second year in the offense, as you mentioned, Juju being gone, there were some opportunities there for him to catch some balls. He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, amazingly. Didn't even play in this year's game. I thought that was going to be the case. And championship game, I just thought, trying to repeat, it's tough. I thought getting the championship game, to be honest with you, was the accomplishment in and of itself, given the way their year went. So the year kind of played out. I didn't see all of this inconsistency on offense, but I thought that they would struggle to get there because there were better teams. But again, they defied expectations.
Yeah, listen, I said going into the playoffs, they're good enough to beat anybody. They're not good enough to win 4 games against playoff caliber competition. That was coming down the stretch. That's after having seen all 17 games. I'm with you. I didn't see the AFC Championship game coming. And to me, my goal, I said, if they can just get to the AFC Championship game and keep that streak going, I'll be satisfied that this will be a very successful season in the end after a difficult ride along the way. And I think it does speak to like Sky Moore, they had to be counting on, and they overcome getting basically nothing, really worse than nothing. He and Kadarius Toney were negatives to this team, and they still got to the Super Bowl, Eric. I mean, that's amazing that, you could have a second-round pick in him, a third-round pick in Kadarius Toney. That's what you're planning on, taking over. And they got nothing and still got there.
The Chiefs roster has 3 top 20 picks, and 2 of them don't play, Blaine Gabbert and Kadarius Toney. Like that is it's crazy. Like this season, Seth Walder from ESPN had a great tweet. He said, the Chiefs aren't a lesson in that wide receivers don't matter. It's that they do matter. They went from the best offense in the league to like 9th. It's not disqualifying, right? Like that's what the lesson is. The Patrick Mahomes is so good that it doesn't matter in the ultimate sense. But yeah, Sky Moore is one where, you have to wonder what his role is going to be next year. Rashee Rice is going to come back. Presumably they're going to get a free agent or a trade that's going to start next to him. And then you're going to bring back some sort of combination of Justin Ross, like somebody, and does Sky Moore become the number 3? And does he have to work his way back in the lineup? I think that those are all good questions, because that's a second-round pick, and I don't think Andy's going to bail on him. But it's incredible that he went from a guy that they were going to count on to be a starting wide receiver to a guy that we're not even sure is going to start next year.
I'll give you a bold and daring prediction. There'll be 3 wideouts brought in some way, shape, or form. I mean, definitively that are counted on. I mean, they're not coming back. I think Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney will actually be around next year in training camp, but the plan will be that they're the 5th and 6th. The Chiefs just don't ever give up on anybody, right? Like, I think it'd be easy to be like, Kadarius Toney's going to be gone. And I won't be shocked if he is, but they just bring everybody back. And I think they'll add to the mix, and those guys will be down at the bottom of it. Eric, let's get to your bold and daring predictions. Noah Gray will have 50 catches. He had 28.
Close.
Yeah, close. You're right there. CEH will lead this team in rushing.
Yeah.
Get into that one. And L'Jarius
I'm doing really well right now.
L'Jarius Sneed is not a starting cornerback by the end of the season. Explain.
Loses his job.
No, I went 0 for 3. I went 0 for 3. There's no other. Now, granted, at the time, Sneed wasn't really playing because contract year. They talked about his knee, all this kind of stuff.
He was hurt all training camp. It's amazing that I think there was that's part of the story people don't remember. It's like, L'Jarius Sneed was great. How could you not think L'Jarius Sneed was going to be great? He didn't play at all in training camp. He missed all of camp. It's like,
well, and so did Pacheco. Pacheco missed a lot of time too, and he was a 7th-round pick. And Clyde started opening night, right? Edwards-Helaire, I think, opening night as Clyde Edwards-Helaire started opening night in the backfield. Yeah. Huh. So, I don't think – look, I obviously these predictions were ass, but I think that there was at least something. Yeah, Clyde started opening night, got 6 carries. So –
and got 6 more the rest of the year.
Yeah. I mean, but it's interesting stuff.
Again, I think it tells the story of what the expectations were coming in. There was is Isaiah Pacheco really a lead back? We didn't know. He only started 8 games last year. Can that style hold up? Is he going to be healthy? I don't think that was a bad pick. I think you can see.
It's not like he had 1,000. It's not like he would rush for 1,200 yards. He had 900 yards.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. My bold and daring predictions. Rashee Rice will lead this team in receiving yards. That did not happen. He was second. He had 938, but Travis Kelce still led with 984. And I'll give mad props to Travis Kelce. I mean, my thought was 550, playing 7, 8, 9 games. I think it's incredible, especially with being hurt going into the year, that he did what he did. It's amazing. He is a phenomenal football player. And, I'm actually surprised that he led the team. It sounds dumb now, but I'm surprised. And I'll be surprised if he leads the team in receiving yards next year. It just speaks to how great he is as a tight end. George Karlaftis leads the team in sacks. He tied for the lead, 10.5. I was mocked. By the way, I do want to point out, that's bold. Chris Jones is holding out. Somebody's got to lead sacks. So, it may look kind of good now, but at the time I made this prediction, Chris Jones wasn't even, in practice, right? He wasn't even signed.
And Minihue was suspended, right? First game.
Yes. So there was a little bit of to that one, so it's not even that bold. I think that's why I have a 4th one. It's because you guys bombed me so hard for picking Karlaftis. That's not bold. So I threw in Patrick Mahomes' top 6,000 passing yards. I thought they'd be dinking, dunking, and throwing all over the place. That was grossly wrong. He got to 4,200. I wasn't even in the 4,183, and I had him throwing for 6,000. That was
less than Brock Purdy.
Yeah. That was brutal. And then my other one, I was not aware, and we finally got word this year. I said Dave Merritt will be hired as defensive coordinator at the end of the year. I love Dave Merritt, the coach, and I felt somewhat validated that I got the reason. He told his wife, I'll not be a coordinator because it takes extra time until our kids or all the way out of high school. And he made a very funny joke about it. He's like, well, my wife can't keep her hands off me. We had, he's got a big separation between his youngest and his next youngest. And he's in high school now. And so I think he's got 3 more years in high school.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. So I think he was a freshman this year in high school. And so if I'm wrong, he was a sophomore, but he's got a couple more years. He's told his family, told his wife, I won't take a coordinator job until my kids are out of high school. So I got that wrong. I should get better sources and understand what's going on there. But
wife ain't seen the pay scale yet.
Yeah. When he sees what Spags is getting. Listen, I mean, maybe the future is Matt Nagy is the head coach and Steve Spagnuolo or Dave Merritt, DC. They just keep them within. Overall, I don't think we did too bad. I mean, but I think it does tell the story of how this season was very improbable. Like the way it played out and the success that they had. When you look at what our vibes were, we're no joke. We're actually pretty good at this crap, right? When we talk about football, I will vouch for you two guys for sure. You're 2 of the best I've ever heard breaking down the game of football. We're pretty good, and look how different the season was compared to what we thought it was going to be. I mean, I think it's a testament to how great the organization is from top to bottom. It ain't just Patrick Mahomes. They do a lot of things right elsewhere, even when things go wrong, like Sky Moore. They're able to overcome it. I think it's huge. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. We're always brought to you by our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. They've been solving parking lot problems since 1994. One contractor, all things parking lot. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Eric Eager from Consumer Sports, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here